Let us be together. We gather as community once again, keenly aware not all of us have returned. Our collective loss hangs heavy in the air as we turn our eyes toward the dawn of a new academic season. We pause. We remember. Today, we come to welcome classmates and colleagues in a time-honored ritual that is more than mere tradition. It is a necessity that arises out of our perennial need to reaffirm our most deeply held values, together as one community. In our common quest for academic and inclusive excellence, today we recommit ourselves to lives marked by honesty, integrity, and respect. And so this year, may we give ourselves fully to the task of intellectual inquiry, pursuing knowledge and truth as essential building blocks for a better, more just society. This year, may we cultivate a community that seeks out difference, not for debate, but for delight. That in our diversity, we might discover new truths about ourselves and each other. This year, may we hear one another to speech. May we hear one another to speech with a deep listening born of curiosity and goodwill. And may we cultivate compassion for ourselves, equal to that which we lavish on others, one that admires our imperfections as beauty, not blemishes. And above all else, may we seek to do more than simply survive. May we seek to thrive, to flourish, to grow in unexpected ways, not only as individuals, but as one beloved community. Now more than ever, the world needs communities of resistance and resilience that will forge a new way. May we be that community for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. So may it be. Amen.
Dean Steiwert, thank you for those beautiful and oh so meaningful words. Thank you also to Margaret Angelini, Director of the Guild of Caroliners, and for the lovely music, and to our student group, Yanvalu, for bringing their wonderful and moving music to our procession. And I want to give a special thank you to Corey Taylor, who has given us the gift of new batons. Please hold them up. They are beautiful, and Corey, we are grateful. They were custom made for Wellesley. Thank you. So good afternoon. Good afternoon. Faculty, students, and staff, I am thrilled to welcome you to campus at the start of Wellesley's 144th year. A special welcome to the incoming Purple class of 2022. I am so happy. I am so happy that you are here. Welcome to our 13 new Davis Scholars and our 20 transfer students. To our new faculty and to our new administrative and union members. And a heartfelt welcome back to the great green class of 2021. To my own red class of 2020, we arrived the same year, and I will always be one of you. And last but far not least, this year's seniors, the incomparable yellow class of 2019. Please know that right now I might be wearing academic robes, but under these robes I am wearing yellow in your honor. It has been such a joy to watch you thrive and grow, and it's not over yet. May your final year as Wellesley students be all that you have hoped for. So here on campus, much of this summer was spent in preparation. Some of these efforts are clearly visible. I think of the care that's gone into stewarding our beautiful buildings and grounds, thanks to facilities management. But much more went on behind the scenes. This has been a time of deep reflection. For all of our diversity, a single question runs through this community. What does Wellesley need to be at this pivotal moment in human history? When Wellesley and her sister, now SIB, schools were founded, women had few options for higher education. I don't have to tell you that this has changed dramatically, and yet Wellesley is stronger today than ever before. Consider our applications have jumped 17% in each of the past 2 years, a leap far surpassing many other top schools. Today, all of us are here because we choose to be, because we recognize the unique power of this community. We share a profound appreciation for what Wellesley offers, an environment of fierce challenge and equally fierce support, a place where young women grow into the fullness of their possibilities. While on vacation last month, I had a chance to watch the movie Wonder Woman again with my 17-year-old daughter, Kate. From the start, I was struck by parallels with Wellesley. The future Wonder Woman comes of age on the island of Themyscira. It's an all-women community set apart from the larger world, a community based on shared values, intergenerational support, and respect. There, the young Diana grows powerful. There, she gains the strength to run towards, not away from danger, to fight for her deepest values in service to humanity. This is what I want Wellesley to be for all of you. A place where you're both challenged and nurtured, a place where you grow strong, a place that provides the safety you need to grow into your fullest powers. Now, safety. It's a word I've been thinking a lot about recently. In recent years, college students, and maybe even some of you, have been mocked for asserting this need. Snowflakes, it's the term that we sometimes hear. I have a very different perspective. As a physician, I know that safety is a fundamental human need, and without it, we're in survival mode. We can't hope to learn or explore in the ways that fuel growth. That said, our needs for safety are not fixed or static. The stronger we grow, the more we can stand up to whatever life throws us. The stronger we grow, the more fully we can come into our own power. Which brings us to the question of values. Power is not an end in and of itself. It does have a moral context. What will each of us choose to do with the power that we're privileged to hold? At the heart of liberal arts education is the search for truth. We look to push forward the frontiers of knowledge. that we value rigorous debate and reasoned discourse. We believe in science. We believe in facts. But critical as these goals are, they are not our only purpose. Along with adding to what we know, we must clarify what we believe. What is the bigger picture that gives our lives meaning? From the start, Wellesley was imbued with a moral mission. Now, originally, this moral mission was rooted in Christianity, as was the case for so many schools of the era. The Harvard motto, Veritas, is sometimes invoked to suggest that truth should be our exclusive focus, that this is the singular concern of higher education. But history belies this claim. On an older version of Harvard's shield, the word veritas is surrounded by the phrase veritas Christo et ecclesia, which translates as truth for Christ and the church. Now, of course, much has changed since then. Religion is no longer central in education. Whatever your convictions, we are stronger for your presence. We welcome everyone regardless of beliefs. But this is not to say that Wellesley no longer has a moral mission. Far from it. Indeed, at this moment in history, it's more important than ever. This year, we'll be exploring what this mission means, what it should mean, as we begin a community-wide planning process that will include students, faculty, and staff to identify priorities for Wellesley's future. While this process has not yet begun, we aren't starting from scratch. As a community, we already share certain fundamental values. One of the most important is an ethic of care, caring not only for ourselves, but also caring for each other and for the larger world. We see this in Wellesley's Latin motto, non ministrare sed ministrare, which translates to not to be ministered unto, but to minister. But if this ideal is shared, we have yet to agree on what it looks like in practice, what it looks like for us as a community and for each of us as individuals. How do we live an ethic of care in a time of fear and division? The path forward is often unclear and riddled with potential hazards. This is evident right now, as we will work to revise a policy that reflects our commitments to both freedom of expression and campus safety. What do we do when these two core values seemingly run up against each other? We can only find a path forward as a community. Right now, given events in our country, many of us are angry, and for good reason. We've watched immigrant children torn from their parents at the Mexican border. We've watched climate change take a growing toll on the world we share. We've watched people of color be profiled and targeted everywhere from city streets to institutions of higher education. And the same is true of gender nonconforming people and many others who face grave risks simply because of who they love, what they look like, or where they come from. We've watched women's rights come under attack on multiple fronts, with the U.S. Supreme Court now poised to gut, if not overturn, Roe v. Wade. We've watched democratic norms come under fire to the extent that alumna Madeleine Albright warns of fascism. The list goes on. Against this backdrop, it is natural to feel anger. This anger in itself is neither good nor bad. What matters is what comes next. Many of you have probably seen Nanette, comedian Hannah Gadsby's acclaimed Netflix special. Anger, women's anger, is central to her message. Towards the conclusion, she says, "I am angry, and I believe I've got every right to be. But what I don't have a right to do is spread anger." And I couldn't agree more. Now, that's not to say that anger should be repressed or erased, because anger is energy. Anger can be fuel. The challenge, as I see it, is to use our anger wisely. Again, think of Wonder Woman. Can we, like Diana, find a way to use anger on behalf of love? I very much hope so, because I believe that our future depends on it. I'm reminded of these beautiful words from U.S. Poet Laureate Tracy K Smith, our commencement speaker last spring. She stated, "The greatest challenge incumbent upon you is learning to love others in ways they may be incapable of loving themselves, and of trusting them, giving them the reason, the wish to love you in kind." During my 2 years as Wellesley's president, I've thought a lot about empathy. How do we foster it? How can we create a culture of understanding? It's one of those things that is great in theory, but hard to put into practice. This is especially true when tensions run high as they do today. It's awfully hard to empathize when you're feeling threatened. I deeply believe in the power of empathy, and I've seen it firsthand, but I also recognize that sometimes it can just be a bridge too far. Empathy takes strength, and we may not always have the strength to tap, at least not yet. So how do we move forward? A little more than a week ago, we learned of the tragic death of Sama Mundley, a member of the class of 2020. This brilliant young woman, an international relations and history major, was involved in a road accident in Amsterdam. She was to study there this fall at FU University. My heart breaks for her family and for all of you who were her friends and her teachers. But even as we mourn her loss, let's honor Sama with renewed commitment to ourselves and to each other. Let us never take for granted our opportunities and each other. Sama loved Wellesley. In a 2016 essay published on Medium, she sang the praises of women's education. The strongest case for women's colleges, she wrote, is that they allow more resistance to that nagging inner voice, the one that coaxes the docile, unconfident woman your culture wants you to be. Rereading these words just a few days ago, I was struck by how beautifully they captured what we aspire to be. So how do we move forward? It occurs to me that we might do well to start with curiosity. Curiosity is at the heart of the pursuit of truth and knowledge, and it is also essential to developing empathy. It's a quality that we're accustomed to bringing to scholarly endeavors. But we must also approach our fellow humans with this same open spirit, with the same lively interest with which we approach our studies and research. What is your opinion? Why do you hold that opinion? How did you come to hold it? More than 60 years ago, the great journalist Edward R. Murrow invited Americans, some famous, some unknown, to write short essays about their deepest convictions. This, I believe, was the name of the series. It became a cultural phenomenon. It ran from 1951 to 1955, and since then it's been revived a number of times. Eleanor Roosevelt, Rosa Parks, Gloria Steinem, Isabel Allende are among the eminent women who've published these essays. So as we embark on a new academic year, I urge you to try your hand at one and to talk to each other about it. Reflect on your own moral mission, the values that you hold dear. Get curious about yourselves and about each other. In sharing, you may discover new sources of strength. Curiosity may turn out to be a prelude to empathy. What do you believe? How did you come to believe it? In line with the original invitation, here are two suggestions. First, be highly personal. Explain how you came to hold your most cherished beliefs and what caused them to grow. Second, stay in the affirmative. Reflect on what you do believe, not on what you oppose. Stay focused on your North Star, the values that drive you forward. So now it's only fair that I go first, right? Okay. So in closing, I'll kick things off. I believe in the power of fierce love, a love that both challenges and nurtures us to be more and better. I believe that every person deserves to feel safe, secure, and supported, that only then can we grow into the fullness of our potential. I believe in the power of our voices and our stories, that through both sharing and listening, we grow both closer and stronger. I believe that how we define courage will go far to define the future. And more than anything today, I believe this, that the Wellesley community, like Themyscira, has transformational powers, and through you, our students, we will change the world. Welcome back.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andy Shannon. I'm the provost. It's a privilege to greet my colleagues in the faculty and staff again at the beginning of this academic year. It is a pleasure to welcome the new members of the class of 2022. It's a pleasure to welcome back the classes of 2020 and 2021. And above all, hail to the yellow class of 2019. Resplendent in the academic gowns that you will wear at commencement next spring. As many of you are aware, President Johnson recently created a task force to make recommendations to her about how to ensure that our campus supports freedom of speech and intellectual challenge through thoughtful and respectful engagement. Almost by definition, an academic community committed to the pursuit of truth must be a place where we feel free to speak our minds and explore our differences, and where there is an honest exchange of ideas. I would argue, though, that there is more to the exchange of ideas and more to thoughtful and respectful engagement than merely speaking freely and listening well. There also has to be the possibility that we might come to think differently as a result of what others say, that we might change our minds. Have you ever changed your mind about something important? I think it's not an easy or a comfortable thing to do. In our increasingly polarized culture, it can easily be characterized as disloyal or opportunistic or unprincipled. If you change your mind, you run the risk of disappointing your friends without gaining the approbation of those who disagree with you. Even in academic life, I think my colleagues would agree, it's oddly frowned upon to acknowledge a change of heart on something consequential. Easy to say that the field or the discipline has gotten something wrong. Very easy to say that someone else has gotten something wrong. Much harder to say that I have reconsidered my own position and changed my view. Today, I wanted to use my few minutes with you to acknowledge that I have changed my mind about something. It's not something, perhaps, that matters hugely in the wider world, but it's something that matters a lot here and has been highly controversial in our community. I am referring to the grading policy that the college introduced almost 15 years ago, and that has come to be known, not entirely accurately, but no matter, as the grade deflation policy. The president told me to expect a reaction, but I didn't think it was. Let me for a few minutes. This is not to burst the bubble, it's to give you the full picture. Let me for a few minutes take you back to the origin of this controversial policy, which means going back to this same ceremony in 2002 with another yellow senior class in attendance, the class of 2003. At that convocation, I spoke about grade inflation at Wellesley. It was a moment when there was a lot of soul-searching across higher education about this phenomenon of grade inflation. And there were some good reasons for the Wellesley faculty and even Wellesley students to be concerned about it. First, while our grades, like virtually everyone else's, had been going up for decades, in the 1990s, Wellesley grades had risen quite a bit faster than at many of our peer schools. By 2002, more than 60% of all the grades given here were A or A minus. Okay, so I have to tell you, when I said that to the class of 2003, they all cheered, just the way you did. If the trend of the 1990s were to persist, I warned, within not much more than a decade, 90% of all grades would be compressed into the A range. With that kind of compression, grades would lose almost all their educational meaning as indicators of strengths or weaknesses. It would become impossible for faculty to differentiate among gradations of excellence, and a college in which a B+ felt like failure would be distorting expectations and fueling a stressful and counterproductive perfectionism. That's what I said. In those years, we also saw an increasingly stark divide between grading standards in different areas of the college. In effect, our grading system was systematically telling students in the class of 2003 that they were better at subjects like my own than they were at subjects like Dean Valenchik's. We worried that this widening disparity in average grades was skewing enrollments away from low-grading departments, most of which, as it happened, were in the STEM area. And in general, it didn't seem quite right or equitable to penalize students in relative terms for following their intellectual passions. Why should it be harder for students in certain majors, just because they elected those majors, to attain academic honors or to compete successfully for internship or other opportunities? For almost 2 years after that convocation, we debated the wisdom and necessity of addressing this issue of grade inflation. When we began the conversation, I was told by an eminent expert from a famous graduate school of education not far from here that the only way to implement a new grading policy was through administrative fiat. But we didn't do it that way. We designed and adopted this policy as a community. It was drafted in the curriculum committee, discussed with students in forums large and small across the whole campus, and debated and voted in academic council with students in attendance. It just wouldn't be accurate to describe the policy as imposed by the administration. It was conceived, really, as an expression of communal standards, not an instrument of coercion. The faculty quite expressly ruled out the imposition of a quota on the number of A's that an instructor could give. which was around the same time the policy that Princeton put in place. Contrary to the mythology that subsequently grew up around it, the grading policy did not require faculty to grade on a curve. It did not require faculty to reduce students' grades below what they had earned. No instructor was ever punished for grading students too leniently. Far from being punitive, the motivation behind this policy was really idealistic. If anything, it was naive in its idealism. The college was attempting to shift the focus to the educational purpose, and to reduce the focus on the grades themselves. As you can probably tell, these arguments still resonate with me. Grade inflation was and is a problem that virtually every institution faces, but most prefer to ignore. Wellesley had the courage to address it. We took a stand in 2004 in defense of high academic standards and against a credentialing mentality that so often makes grades, rather than the quality of the learning, the be-all and end-all. So if the principles, the core principles that motivated the policy, still seem the right ones, why have I changed my mind about the policy itself? Because the critical question is not, was the policy the right one in 2002? The question is the policy the right one today, considering where the college is in 2018? For 3 reasons, my response to that question has shifted from where it was a long time ago. First, if our hope was that a grading policy would focus this community on the educational process rather than on grades, I regret to say that we have been unsuccessful. The policy did succeed, especially in the early years, in reducing the disparity between average grades in high grading departments and those in low grading departments. But it never eliminated the disparity. Even more importantly, it has never made us a less grade-conscious community. Instead, I suspect from the clicking that most of you would agree with me that we have become more preoccupied with grades and talk more about grades as a result of the policy. And to my mind, that is not a healthy outcome. Second, as I have said, the passing of this policy was an act of community building. Of course, there were some no votes in Academic Council in 2003 and 4, but really, believe it or not, only a handful. We had a remarkably broad consensus that a more consistent set of grading standards across all academic departments would contribute to intellectual community within the college. My own perception, at least, is that that consensus does not exist to the same extent today. If anything, it would seem that the grading policy has created new challenges to the faculty's solidarity, new sources of division, and even rancor. It remains as important as ever for the faculty to have a shared understanding of our educational goals and our academic standards. But I no longer believe that the policy we passed is capable of bringing us to that shared understanding. And third, and finally, I must acknowledge that the perception of the policy, not what the policy actually says, or what the FAQs on the Curriculum Committee website say, but what people believe the policy says, has acquired a life of its own. Perception has become a kind of reality, and it is a reality that seems increasingly problematic for the culture of our campus. We have probably all heard reports about how the policy discourages teamwork among students, encourages competition for grades, and exacerbates a culture of stress. Honestly, I'm not sure we have the data to confirm all those hypotheses, or to be certain that eliminating the grading policy will fundamentally change the Wellesley culture. But does that matter when the perception is so pervasive and firmly rooted? As I weigh the pros and cons of maintaining this policy, I'm inclined to the view that a new approach to expressing our academic standards would be a step in the right direction. That is, in the direction of a more cohesive, more generous, more thriving, more joyfully inquisitive campus. The bottom line for me is this: the principle of expecting equity and consistency in the evaluation of your work still applies. The principle of valuing your intellectual distinction still applies. The principle of focusing on the quality of your learning, not on the grades, must still apply. The issue is how to realize these principles. If we have reached a point where the grading policy prevents us from realizing them, then it has become a distraction. I don't say this lightly. I have always supported the grading policy. I've always taken pride in this college's and this faculty's effort to resist the condescension of inflated grades and lowered expectations. But the principles should guide the policy rather than the other way around. I am therefore asking the Curriculum Committee to bring a recommendation to the Academic Council, and the Academic Council to take another vote. As I said at the beginning, admitting the force of arguments that others have made, especially, as in my case, when I push back against them so often in the past, is never easy. But when the arguments are compelling, as these are now for me, it is an obligation of thoughtful and respectful engagement to change one's mind. I ask others, especially perhaps my faculty colleagues, to take a fresh look at this question. I am confident that working together as an entire community, we will be able to find a different and better way of remaining true to our principles. Thank you. Now it's my honor to introduce Sofia Masoom, who is the College Government Vice President and Interim President.
Thank you, Provost Chenin. To our esteemed faculty, staff, and administration, thank you for being here as we join together for another fruitful year of learning, growing, and thriving at this great institution. To the Purple Class of 2022, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you home to this place where you will make discoveries, make mistakes, a lot of them, and make friends. You'll find new ways of thinking about the world around you and pieces you didn't know existed, but somehow fit perfectly into the puzzle of your life. You might find that your definition of success and meaning will change and change again. And it's okay to not find your major in the first semester. It's okay if you don't know the perfect organization to join right this minute. It's okay to not be the next Hillary Clinton. It's okay to feel unsure, and it is okay to fall down. Your siblings are here to pick you up, as you will be for them throughout your years. There is no singular right way to go through college. What matters is that your Wellesley experience is yours to own. To the Green class and my own dear Red class, it's great to have you back. And finally, to our stars, the one and only yellow class of 2019, savor this moment because it's yours. Now, to be speaking in front of you all at this convocation as the interim college government president is about the furthest thing from what I imagined. But while it wasn't the plan, there's something to be said for finding yourself in unexpected territory. In the few moments of panicked freefall, when you realize you weren't quite where you thought you would be, you live free of expectation and give yourself the room to be creative and really push the boundaries of what you thought was possible. Maybe you didn't expect to be in your final year at Wellesley already. Well, it isn't over yet, but for this last round, I hope you'll turn that fall into flight. Make the most of the time you have left by seeking out uncharted waters and seeing what you can do when you take a step out of your comfort zone or a giant flying leap. Invest in the process because this time is precious. Find out something you never thought you would learn about yourself, a friend, or a professor. Carl Friedrich Gauss once said, quote, "It is not knowledge, but the act of learning, not the possession, but the act of getting there, which grants the greatest enjoyment." During student leader training, we spent a great deal of time reflecting on our values, which culminated in a written piece on one of our driving beliefs. Today, I wanted to share with you all one of mine. I believe in you, Wellesley College. I believe in your voices, your stories, and your ability to fight for what is right in this world. Yes, after our 4 years of college, but also right here and right now. I know you have what it takes to point out flaws, but also solutions. To be critical, but constructive. To create a culture of love and liberation and compassion so that every individual, every group, everyone on this campus feels accepted, respected, and that they truly are enough. I believe in your worth in preserving the great history we at Wellesley have and in creating your own. At this, the outset of a year, for many of you, the final one, which I am confident will prove to offer many opportunities to show the world exactly what Wellesley students are capable of. Let's take a few moments to think about why we are learning and having the experiences we are. Will you take that class you think you should take? Or will you find something else you know nothing about? Will you randomly strike up a conversation with that person you always see in the dining hall, only to find that their story is truly fascinating? Will you pursue more spur-of-the-moment, off-the-cuff decisions that help you find a new passion? What will you do that is unexpected this year? And how will those unexpected moments allow you to grow here or even after Wellesley? After all, as Lemony Snicket put it, quote, "What might seem to be a series of unfortunate events may in fact be the first steps of a journey." So this year, I challenge all of you to not only embrace the unexpected, but to chase the unexpected. Seniors, congratulations, and prepare yourselves for a great victory lap. Best wishes to you all, Wellesley. Let's get out there and make something happen. Thank you. Please join me in welcoming Chief Justice Maya Nandakumar.
To the president and the provost, to members of the faculty, the staff, and the administration, to students returning and new, and to my own classmates in the golden class of 2019, welcome back. In the past week, I have found myself inspired by the commitment of student activists on this campus who have dedicated their resources to debating the new protest policy. A fundamental purpose of the Honor Code at Wellesley is to open space for respectful and productive dialogue. As we embark on a new academic year, I wanted to use my time today to discuss the vibrant nature of dissent by revisiting two ancient Greek conceptions of freedom of speech. As an idea, freedom of speech emerged alongside democracy in ancient Athens. Political theorist Teresa M. Bajan distinguishes between two similar but distinct ideations of free speech: isegeria, the equal right of all citizens to participate in public debate, and secondly, parousia, the right of a civilian to say whatever they wanted, to whomever they wanted, whenever they wanted. The conflict between the two is ancient and long-standing, and in my opinion, continues to inform the debate happening on this campus today. Of the two, isegeria was the more fundamental, possibly even serving as a synonym for democracy in its early years. The concept was, at its core, about the equal opportunity to speak, rather than freedom of speech. All citizens, regardless of socioeconomic status, were permitted to address the state assembly, a radical concept in the ancient world. And of course, I should mention that all citizens does not include women or slaves. At the same time, though, the unprecedented nature of isegeria contributed to the prominence of Athenian democracy. Now, conversely, parousia was more expansive. The philosopher Michel Foucault wrote that parousia is linked to courage in the face of danger. It demands the courage to speak the truth in spite of some danger. Nonetheless, unrestrained speech had the potential to be destructive. Foucault cautioned that parousia entailed an asymmetry of power, since the audience, by virtue of listening, pledged to tolerate any offense from the speaker. Parousia outlasted, unsurprisingly, isegeria in models of democracy, which shifted their core values from equality to liberty over time. And today, freedom of speech protects our ability to say whatever we want, but not everybody necessarily has the right to speak. The debate that affects college campuses today invokes the clash between the two. While free speech fundamentalists often plead the First Amendment to defend hateful rhetoric, college students seem to be seeking the equal right to a voice. I want to take a moment, of course, to acknowledge that there is something troublesome about relying on Athenian democracy as a point of reference. Why privilege a civilization which has long been and continues to be privileged? And of course, why reference an institution which was not particularly democratic in the first place? What I've aimed to do is to use historical precedent as a vehicle for contemporary dialogue, but not to further venerate ancient Greece as a cornerstone of academia. I want to close by highlighting the relationship between the honor code and free speech. As we evaluate the role of honesty, integrity, and respect in our community, I want to challenge us together to not only speak more boldly, but also to listen more boldly. Both isegeria and parousia require radical conversations in the same way that protest often does. The honor code opens space for all forms of dissent at Wellesley. I hope you'll join me now in the ceremonial recitation of the honor code, which you can find on the bottom of the first page of your programs, all about free speech. As a Wellesley College student, I will act with honesty, integrity, and respect. In making this commitment, I am accountable to the community and dedicate myself to a life of honor. Thank you so much. Please rise for the benediction and for America the Beautiful. And it's my pleasure to introduce my dear and phenomenally talented friend, Charlotte Francis, to sing.
For spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee.
Friends, let us be together one last time. In the days to come, may we hold fast to these commitments we made together this day. May we cultivate a community in which all are accepted and respected, given equal voice, and afforded the courage to speak truth despite danger. May we embrace the possibility that we might change our mind, and in doing so, change the lives of many. May we strengthen our hearts, using our anger wisely, that we might run towards the world's most pressing problems with empathy and love. And may we remember, no matter what, it will be okay. It will be okay. Will you say that with me? It will be okay. Above all, believe in yourself. Believe in Wellesley. Wellesley is Wellesley, friends, because we make it so. I want you to take a moment. Some of you know what's coming next. What is it? Look around, friends. Look around, sideways, forward. Don't forget those in the balcony and in the side balconies. Look around. Wellesley is Wellesley because we make it so. These commitments that we make, even the commitment to send something to academic council, it only happens because we make it happen as Wellesley, as all of us, students, staff, and faculty together. So whatever this year is going to be, it's going to be because we make it so. We are Wellesley. Friends, life is so much more than the success we measure. Its value lies in the relationships we cultivate, in the bridges we build, in the compassion we give and we receive. In the end, it is how we treat one another and ourselves that determine whether we flourish or we fail. The choice is ours to make. So friends, let's choose to flourish. So may it be, so may it be. Amen.